Hello and welcome to another video here on DAX Wednesdays. In this video, we're going to have a look at not one but three DAX functions: search, find, replace. These DAX functions belong to the text family of DAX functions. Let's switch to Power BI for the demonstration. So over here, we have a small dataset with just one table in it, where we have listed few of the popular Disney princesses such as Ariel, Mulan, Rapunzel, Moana, etc. First DAX function we're going to have a look at is called search. Let's call this search underscore e. What we're going to do is we're going to find out using this search DAX function at what position do we have, for instance, let's say the small letter e. We need to find this text, and within which text, the names column, which is the second argument over here. We have two other optional arguments that we can provide. So it's asking for a starting position. When you provide this starting position, the search DAX function will sweep the whole text from left to the right in order to search for this little e, small e in the name. The first alphabet is at position 1, second at position 2. Over here, what we want to do is we want to provide starting position as 1. The next argument that we're going to provide is not found value. What if we do not find the small letter e among the names or the text that we are trying to find this letter e? So we will put in a value, let's say 0. So if there's no e in the name, it will return to us 0. I'll close this bracket and let's see what results are provided. So over here for Ariel, it has found out the position of the first e that it encounters. It's 4. There are no small e's in Mulan, Pocahontas, Tiana, so it has returned us the value 0. It found 1 e at number 7 and so on. Now let's find a name where we have the first letter as e. We have Elsa, which has the first letter e. Now what happens if I were to change the third argument starting position from 1 to 2? Let's see what value it returns for us in case of Elsa. Now you see Elsa has returned a 0. Now what is happening over here, as we explained before, the DAX function search will sweep all the text from left to right from the starting position that we provided. Since we have provided the starting position of 2, it has started from the letter L and so on. So it didn't take into account the first letter, and since in the remaining 3 letters there's no E, it has written us the value 0. So this was one thing. The other thing you should take note in search is it is not case sensitive. At the exception of Elsa, all the princesses that have an small e in the name, we were able to find out their position. In case of Elsa, the first letter E is in capital. It's a big E. Although it's a big E, it was able to find out the position of where we find that E in their text. So irrespective of what letter, is it big or small, it is not case sensitive, which brings us to our second DAX function, which is find. Now in case of find, it takes in the same arguments as it does in search, but there's just one exception. You already guessed it right. It is case sensitive. As it is explained over here, find is case sensitive. So if I have to provide the same arguments that we provided for case of search, starting position 1 and not found value of 0, you will see all the values match except in case of Elsa, where in case of search it has returned us the position of E. Find was not able to find any letter E in the name, although it does exist, because find is a case sensitive DAX function. So always keep in mind why you should favor search over find in your data model. Although these kind of functions are pretty basic, and even if you require to use them, you should be using it in Power Query itself before you load and apply it in your Power BI report. But for the sake of this demonstration, we are explaining this to you how search and find differs from each other and why you should prefer search over find. The last DAX function that we want to talk about is replace. Now, contrary to search and find, replace DAX function does what it's in its name. It replaces the old text with a new text, where we can provide the starting position, how many number of characters we want to be replaced by the new text. So these are the 4 arguments that it takes in. We're going to have it We're going to have a look at it one by one. So now let's say it's asking us for the old text. The old text is of course the names column. We're going to provide names. So next argument it's asking us is the starting position. So let's say the starting position you're going to provide is 1. Over here the third argument is how many number of characters will be replaced by the new text that we're going to provide. If we don't want to replace any number of characters, let's type in 0. This is just for example. We'll have a look at different combinations of these values later on. The fourth argument now I'm going to provide is the new text. Let's say free is the new text that we want to provide and say OK. Now, what has happened? Over here, before every princess's name, we have a text free right before it. Free Ariel, free Mulan, free Pocahontas. Now we'll try to find out what values are returned for different combinations. Let's say instead of 1 as starting position, I'll type in 2. I will see what it has done is it has inserted the new text at position 2. It has kept the letter that was at position 1 as it is and the remaining letters as it is. So it hasn't removed any of the existing letters, it has just inserted. Similarly, if I were to say 3, it just moves to the right and it doesn't delete any of the existing letters, but it only inserts. This was one combination of values that we want to have a look at. Let's see what happens if I were to change the second value, which is how many letters you want to replace. So instead of 0, which replaces no letters of the existing text, let's type in 1. And now let's see what happens. Now an interesting thing has happened. Now for example, in case of Ariel, the new text has replaced the A, the capital A, and it has kept the remaining letters as it is. So it has become free real. You have to type in 2, you guessed it, it has now removed A and R, whereas the other letters remain. Let's say type 6, what happens? Now, what it has done, if we put a value which is higher than the number of characters that we have in the text, the original text, it will replace the original text by the new text itself. So in case of Ariel and Mulan, the new text is free. Whereas in case of Pocahontas, we still have few characters remaining after 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 characters. So it has kept NTS, the last 4 alphabets. So these were the 3 DAX functions that we wanted to have a look at today. These are pretty basic DAX functions. You can use them if required in your data model, but for these kind of columns and where you need to find a position or you need to replace a text, it is always recommended to do it in Power Query rather than in your PowerBI report. So that's all for this video. Let me know in the comments of what you thought about it. Do not forget to like and subscribe. I will see you in the next video.